You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Good morning, everyone. This is Debbie Royce, Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation's Corporate Secretary. I'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. And before we formally begin, I would ask everyone to please mute your lines unless you're speaking. We'll begin today by taking a roll call of the directors to ensure we have a quorum present. Please be so kind as to say present when we call your name. Chair Robert Joya.
Present.
Julie Barnese.
Present.
Connie Lyden.
Present.
Mike Vogel.
Present.
Was Shatora Donovan able to join us? Or Macau Matua? Okay, and then I believe we would have Dan Castle on the line for the county executive, or Brendan Manhaffey for the mayor, Byron Brown. Okay, Chairman Joya, you have a quorum present, and you can begin. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, everyone. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation for Monday, June 6, 2022. Before we get started, I will ask that everyone please mute their phone until you're ready to speak. Also, for the record, I will ask that anyone wishing to speak, please be sure to state your name before you begin. I do note that for the record that in accordance with current legislation, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I will also note for the record that the public was given opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 4:30 p.m. Friday. I'd like to state for the record that no comments were received for the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask any questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether any or has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any item agenda on the agenda. If so, if you would please state your name, please make an appropriate disclosure on the record for this time, at this time. Hearing none. Hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of minutes of the directors of meeting of December 13th and March 22nd. I'd like to, can we have a move to approve?
Move to approve. Mike Vogel.
Second?
Julie Barnese.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
So first, Steve, let's see, that motion carried. I'd like to call upon Steve Bernali to present the first item on the agenda. Where is it, Steve? I have it right here. Is the second item, rather, excuse me. That is the ECHDC procurement guidelines, adoption of revised guidelines. Steve.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, everybody. On March 24th of this year, the parent corp, Empire State Development Board of Directors, adopted the proposed 2022 guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts, which set forth the policies and procedures to be followed by ESD and its subsidiaries, including the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, when seeking to contract for goods or services. It is required that each ESD subsidiary approve its own procurement guidelines in terms virtually identical to the proposed 2022 guidelines, with any departure therefrom fully explained by the subsidiary board. Accordingly, the ECHDC directors are being asked to approve the attached proposed guidelines. These guidelines define the universe of procurement transactions which are subject to the best practices and procedures included in the document. And generally, all procurements by the corporation must be competitive, except where state law provides for non-competitive sourcing. Proposed guidelines explain the various means of obtaining goods and services in an open, accountable, and transparent manner, including incorporation of the corporation's bid opening guidelines and the compilation of a procurement record for every covered procurement contract. Proposed 2022 guidelines comply with the applicable provisions of the Public Authorities Law, State Finance Law, and the State Tax Law. They are consistent with the state's Procurement Council's guidelines and with the governor's directive that all state agencies and public authorities make responsible spending decisions, and that they be accountable for sufficient monitoring of their spending to ensure the highest levels of fairness, non-discrimination, openness, and transparency. ESD staff have determined that approval of the proposed 2022 guidelines does not constitute an action as defined by the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations. No further environmental review is required in connection with the requested approval. Therefore, the directors are requested to adopt the proposed 2022 guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts with no departures or deviations from those adopted by ESD. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Robert?
Thank you, Steve. Are any questions on this particular item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, this is Julie.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Now, Steve, we will ask you to present the corporation to amend its contract with Turner Construction Company for construction management services in connection with the Buffalo Outer Harbor Improvement Project. Steve?
Thank you once again, Robert. In February of 2021, the directors authorized entering into a contract with Turner Construction for our construction management services required on the Buffalo Outer Harbor. The consultant has provided constructability reviews, oversight of bid proposals for our Phase 1A projects, and is currently providing construction management services on the Outer Harbor at the Terminal B project. On September 20th of 2021, the board amended this contract to provide pre-construction services for the next round of improvements at Bell Slip and Wilkeson Point. With these pre-construction services complete, this second amendment would allow the contractor to assist with issuing bids, providing construction management services of those two projects. We did advertise for competitively with an RFP in the New York State Contract Reporter back in November of 2020 and accepted and evaluated 8 proposals, whereby our selection committee chose Turner Construction. Their team includes Rodriguez Construction Group, which is an MBE, AA Reporting, Writing, and Consulting, which is a WBE, and Trophy Point is an SDVOB. Pursuant to state finance law, section 139J and 139K, and the corporation's policy related thereto, staff has previously considered the proposed
Julie, I'm
contract.
not hearing anybody.
Julie, do you hear me?
I can hear you.
Mike and Connie, and can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can too.
Yep, me too.
Can we try and get her back on? I don't want to continue unless I know she's
Yeah,
here.
maybe she has to hang up and get back on. I'm going to mute myself and I will give her a call. Thanks for your patience, everyone. We're trying to get Julie Barnese to dial back into the meeting. Just one more second. Thanks.
I'm here.
Oh, you're back. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Okay, Steve.
I can hear you. That's all I can say. I haven't heard anything since I've dialed back.
Okay, because
Julie.
we were waiting. Steve.
Sorry.
Hey,
yeah,
Julie.
This is Steve. Can you hear me?
Yep, now I can hear.
Oh, excellent.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Steve. Thanks.
Absolutely. I'll just pick right up about where I lost you. Pursuant to state finance law, section 139J and 139K, and the corporation's policy related thereto, staff has considered the proposed contractor's ability to perform the services and consulted the list of offers determined to be non-responsible bidders and debarred offerers maintained by New York State's OGS. Based on the foregoing, staff continues to consider the proposed contractor to be responsible. The consultant shall have the primary responsibility to represent ECHDC throughout the Phase 1B efforts for construction monitoring and post-construction services. They'll maintain responsibility for the day-to-day management of the construction process to deliver the project on time, within budget, and of the highest quality. This contract amendment will cover fees and expenses over an approximate 30-month bidding construction period, and the added amount for the scope of work here shall not exceed $925,000, including reimbursables, for a total amended contract amount of $1,550,400, including a contingency. Funding source shall be the New York Power Authority relicensing agreement. ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy shall continue to apply to this contract. Contractors shall be required to solicit and utilize minority and women-owned business enterprise and service-disabled veteran-owned business enterprises to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. The directors made a determination of no significant effect on the environment for the entire Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project at our meeting back in November 9th of 2020. This determination addressed all aspects of the project, including construction management activities covered under this contract in this amendment. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant, authorize the corporation to enter into a contract amendment with Turner for an amount not to exceed $925,000. This is based on their fee of $773,615 with a $151,385 contingency. This will include all reimbursables for a total amended contract amount of $1,550,400, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on approval, Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item?
Mike Vogel. Steve, are we pleased with Turner's performance to date?
Yes, we have been very pleased with it. They have had a bit of staffing change out there early on, but we've been happy with the management of the process, the overseeing of some change orders, and working closely with the contractors regarding some changes in the site conditions out there. And they've also done a really good job of hitting our participation goals. Based on their last invoice through April 30th of this year, we're currently at 15% MBE, 16% WBE, and 7% SDVOB. So just slightly overall ahead of the MWBE participation goal, as well as SDVB goals.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll now entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Second?
Julie,
Johnny
second.
Lyden, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve, please continue and present the request for the corporation to enter into a consulting services contract relating to the Erie Canal bicentennial canal site.
As everyone here knows, for more than a decade, the corporation has been spearheading projects along Buffalo's waterfront to help the city and Western New York realize a vision of renewed prosperity. Canalside project sits on the historic western terminus of the Erie Canal, and in its heyday, Buffalo, which was known as America's gateway to the West, was one of the world's greatest business centers, teeming with canal and rail traffic passing from the Atlantic seaboard across the Great Lakes. For much of the 19th century, it was truly an industrious port that bustled with people and goods from all over the world. The Canalside History Advisory Group was formed to help guide ECHDC on projects and programming in order to ensure the historical relevance of Canalside continues to be woven into the fabric of the site. A group of volunteer members is chaired by Mike Vogel. The bicentennial of the opening of the Erie Canal, which will occur in 2025, we know that celebrations will likely occur across New York State, but this advisory group has been tasked to support our staff with planning a celebration in Buffalo at Canalside. So on March 28th of this year, we advertised for the Erie Canal Bicentennial at Canalside Consulting Services in the New York State Contract Reporter. On April 21st, we received and opened 2 proposals. They were reviewed and scored by the selection committee, and BMC Consulting was the top-ranked consultant team. BMC Consulting is a New York State design firm with an office in Buffalo. Their team also includes Watts Architects and Engineers, an MBE, Design Synergies Architecture, a WBE, and Trophy Point, an SDVOB, as well as Telesco Creative Group. The team will be directed by BMC's team leader, Brian McAloney. Under this contract, the consultant will provide necessary services, including but not limited to brand development, conceptual layout, and vendor procurement assistance for the areas that we manage during the bicentennial, meetings with the American Association of State and Local History, as well as meeting with our Canalside History Advisory Group, and just overall project management. Given that several of the tasks will likely result in additional out-of-scope work, the RFP contemplated ECHDC reserving the right to amend this contract as necessary in order to complete the project. Any amendments will be subject to future board approvals. Consultant contract will cover fees and expenses through December 31st of 2023, and the contract amount with BMC Consulting to complete the above scope of work shall not exceed $250,000, which is a $210,885 contract with a contingency of $39,115. The project funding source shall be the New York Power Authority relicensing agreement, and ESD's non-discrimination contractor and supplier diversity policy will also apply to this contract, looking to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 3%. Empire State Development staff has determined that the action, which involves entering into a consultant contract to undertake event planning services, constitutes a Type 2 action as defined by the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and therefore no further environmental review is required at this time. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant, to authorize the corporation to enter into a contract with BMC Consulting for an amount not to exceed $210,885 with a $39,115 contingency for a total contract amount of $250,000. and to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Robert. You may be muted.
I am muted. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions from the directors on this item?
Connie Lyden. I think we're incredibly fortunate that Mr. Vogel is so involved in this aspect. And I just would like to hear what you think about this as a selection, Mike.
You're too kind, Connie. We've been working along with Brian under a previous contract. He had done some work for us right now, and he's done very well. Just to let everybody know, we have worked our way through a visioning and the kind of philosophical process that starts these large public events, so that we have several things to keep in mind and as we plan individual events in terms of inclusivity, diversity, welcoming, visitor first policies, all of that sort of thing. And we are now moving into planning individual events. Brian is doing a good job with starting that out. As a committee, we are, or as an advisory group, sorry, Debbie, I know we can't be a committee. As an advisory group, we are tracking 27 projects at this point. They range from small to very large, and from concepts at this point to some that are already well along in progress. We are painfully aware that the clock is ticking. 2025 may seem like several years in the future, but on planning horizons, we need to keep moving along, and Brian, I think, is the right person to do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Any other questions or comments from any directors? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Connie Lyden, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Julie Bernese.
Thank you. All in favor? Signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve will now present the final item on today's agenda, authorization to enter into a contract for the management services in connection with the World Canals Conference 2025 at Canal site. Steve?
Thank you, Robert. In September of last year, Governor Hochul announced that New York State would be joining Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, the Canal Corporation, which works under the New York Power Authority, the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, and Visit Buffalo Niagara, and our bid to bring the World Canals Conference back to North America and to the Buffalo waterfront. This past Friday, Governor Hochul announced the Canal side was selected by the Inland Waterways International as the host of the World Canal Conference in 2025. Erie Canalway Heritage Fund, the not-for-profit partner of the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, approached us in early 2021 with a proposal for Canal side to host the World Canals Conference in 2025, again, to mark the bicentennial celebration of the opening of the Erie Canal. This conference began back in 1988 when it was held in Michigan. It became international in scope when it was then held at the Rideau Canal in Ontario. And since 1996, when it was located in England, the World Canals Conference has then been hosted by many, many countries on 3 different continents. The conference will bring together canal enthusiasts, professionals, and scholars from around the world to learn about a variety of topics related to canals, including the protection of historic canals and features, the revitalization of canal systems, harbor sites, canal trails and amenities, and the presentation or interpretation of canals and corridors their history, and various elements. Canals as a means to promote tourism, spur economic development, and urban renewal. We are very excited as the World Canal Conference is a significant opportunity for Canalside, for New York State, the City of Buffalo, and for Visit Buffalo Niagara to highlight and celebrate the progress that our community has made along the Buffalo waterfront and to showcase how the Erie Canal continues to impact New York State after 200 years. Each year, the Erie Canalway Heritage Fund manages programs and events that bring hundreds of thousands of visitors to boat, bike, and walk along the 524-mile Erie Canal corridor, supporting tourism, businesses, and job creation across the state. The fund also helped to manage in 2017 the World Canals Conference that was held in Syracuse. Therefore, ECHDC requested and received a contract reporter exemption on June 3rd for the fund in order for them to complete the overall planning and implementation of the conference, including managing all of the committees, planning the conference themes and content, planning the actual event, including venues, tours, and different itineraries, the outreach and marketing, and the financial coordination and management for the term of the contract. The consultant contract will cover fees and expenses through October 31st, 2025. And the amount that we will be spending with the Erie Canal Heritage Fund to complete the scope of work shall not exceed $250,000. The project funding source shall be the New York Power Authority relicensing agreement. Once again, ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy will apply to this contract. And again, we will have overall MWBE participation goals of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 3%. ESD staff has determined that the action, which involves entering into an agreement with the fund to undertake planning activities and the implementation of a temporary use of land for the event, constitutes a Type 2 action as defined by seeker. Therefore, no further environmental review is required at this time. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant, authorize the corporation to enter into a contract with the Erie Canalway Heritage Fund for a total contract amount not to exceed $250,000 and to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions regarding this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved, Mike Vogel.
How about a second?
Julie Leiden, second.
Thank you. And before I approve, before it's approved finally, I'd like to commend our member, Mr. Vogel, for all his efforts and assisting and assuring that this event can come to Buffalo and be such a proud event for Western New York. So congratulations and thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we are treating this as a world-class event for a world-class site. And just as an add-on to that, board member participation in any way you wanted to participate would be most welcome.
All right. Thank you. Item is approved, and that concludes the meeting. And I'm delighted that it's rumored that we will be going live for the next meeting. I certainly hope that happens because I can't remember if I'm on mute, I'm not mute, and obviously the silence is deafening at times, but it seems like an eternity. But thank you for your patience throughout these last meetings, and hopefully that this will be it. And I hope you enjoy your wonderful summer, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.